Three, two, one. Uh,
It was all a dream.
yeah, it's all a dream again. I was gonna say let them come, but also it's all a dream. Hello and welcome to another episode of Baycast, the podcast about all things Michael Bay. I'm your host Jacob,
Host Mike.
and we just got out of seeing Transformers: Rise of the Beast. And by just got out, we saw it like 4 days ago, but now we just got around to recording the episode.
Oh, it was almost a week.
Uh,
It was last Thursday.
Thursday? No, it was Friday, right? Oh wait, was it Thursday?
It was Thursday.
God, okay, so we saw it almost a week ago now. Apparently, God, it felt like just yesterday when we watched it. Yesterday. But,
yeah, a movie from our past and future.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is the first movie that we were able to watch in cinemas together, which was a pretty fun experience in and of itself. But yeah,
We also enlisted a shit ton of our friends. It was a whole thing.
A lot of varying opinions. But this was a long time coming. We've been talking about this pretty much since Baycast started this film, and it's finally out. We watched it, and yeah, I guess just heads up. Since we watched this in the theater, I wasn't really able to write any notes at the time of watching, so just apologies in advance if it's a little more. If we jump around a little more and get some pop points not exactly right, but I think I remember enough about it.
That's just you. That's just gonna be you.
That's just a me problem. Yeah, that's just a Jacob problem, guys. Sorry.
So right now, not everyone can immediately absorb the information of these fucking incomprehensible movies like I can. That's why I'm here.
Yeah. So
the ambassador.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just start with Michael. What do you think?
I've been thinking for almost a week. When I came out of the theater, my first thought was, it's kind of like the first movie on coke. And now I think it's like the first movie on crack. That's how my mind has developed in the last 6 days.
I kind of agree with you in that regard, but it almost feels like a more subdued version of the Bay films. It's like, while it's definitely, I feel like it's more competent than most of them. It's like it lacks like a certain oomph, a certain yellow tint, a certain sweat factor, I guess, that the Bay movies had, which I guess can be taken as a good or bad thing. I think generally it's a good thing. It's definitely, I think, one of the objectively better Transformers movies, but it definitely lacks a certain something that the Bay movies had.
Well, those movies, I think one of the only things that you can say objectively, one of the few objective pluses, positives, is that the SFX team, everyone working on that, decided to make these incomprehensible, make a toy out of them designs. Were meant to be as realistic as possible. If you look at the first Transformers movie, came out almost, not 20 years ago, but more than 15 years ago. Even if the effects aren't perfect, they put so much care into making this material shine this way and this light. Or when Optimus Prime moves his arm, the windows on his chest flex a certain way. So even if they were only kind of related to classic Transformers, they still felt like things that interacted. This movie, I would liken the visuals of this movie compared to the first ones, I guess the first one specifically, to Pacific Rim Uprising, where they just went full crazy. Everything's just a normal robot that moves like a human, which is better in some ways and worse in others.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's a good point. Well, this movie definitely doesn't. The effects aren't bad. There definitely been worse looking movies that have come out recently. I mean, The Flash is coming out tomorrow, and from what it looks like, those effects look like shit, and that movie costs more. But it definitely does lack a certain amount of polish to the effects, at least that the Bay movies had, especially the early ones.
As we said in the pre-episode, it's a different company, and thus they weren't as experienced with it. I mean, few are as experienced with robots and machinery as ILM, but I mean, going from the first trailer to the teasers before the movie's release, and then going from those to this, it looks leagues better. If you watch the first trailer, it looks like a fucking PlayStation game in comparison to the final movie, even if the final movie isn't exactly the best looking thing. I honestly think, trying not to sound like, oh, I like Transformers, so biased, but the effects in this are some of the better effects for a blockbuster we've gotten recently. Which, if you look at the kind of blockbuster, outside of Guardians 3, outside of that, what movies look good? Ant-Man, fucking the trailers for The Flash, non-big studio movies.
Yeah.
Things just look like shit now.
It's because
The fact
well,
that,
yeah, that's just the state of the industry right now, where they work these VFX owners to the tooth and nail just to get everything up by deadlines. But at least from the looks
which
of it, it didn't look like they forced these animators to work in sweatshop like conditions.
they probably did. They just tried harder with this. I felt every hair on the top of Ape Link's head. Oh yeah, if you watch the pre-video, Ape Link is real. Ape Link
Yeah,
was real.
you got like pretty much.
Almost everything I said was real.
Yeah, you got pretty much everything right. I was like every minute I was like, yep, Michael was right there. Oh, he was right there too. He was right there.
Hey, if you give me a trillion TV spots of something that I know inside and out, a series this predictable, I get it. I know what they're doing, except for one thing at the end, which fucking knocked my
Okay.
socks off.
Yeah,
But
I think it pretty much
we'll eventually work up
yeah.
to that
I
fucking
cannot wait to
reveal.
discuss that. But yeah, I guess we'll discuss it from the beginning. So I guess as you said, well, like I said in the previous episode, you were completely right in that Ape Link was in it. I didn't expect to see him in literally the first minute though.
I didn't expect them to name drop him. Ron Perlman is like, what will we do now, glorious Maximal leader Ape Link? And all of us were just fucking dying. Because the whole time I'm like, where's Ape Link? As a joke. As a joke. And then the motherfucker shows up. And I said he has hair. All the Maximals have like hair and fur, but he had hair on the top of his gorilla mode. Look, he had a fucking flat top. And that's very funny.
Yeah. So
I want a toy of the guy with the flat top.
Dude, I hope they make one. So I guess we'll just like start with like the basic plot where the movie like starts on the home world of the Maximals, and and from that we're introduced to who is gonna be, I'm assuming, the main bad guy of this supposed trilogy, Unicron and his little Terracons. So I guess before we go into that a little bit, Unicron in this movie is basically the equivalent of Darkseid in Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's just there. He's technically the main villain, but he just lets his like little henchmen do most of the bidding. And by the end, like when he was about to actually do something, the Transformers stop him. Like I think, but pretty much the same way, by closing the portal allows him to enter.
Yeah,
so
it's actually very similar to the end of Transformers 3.
Yeah, true.
This movie really did remind me of 3, which is a good thing because I like that one. But
yeah, I'll go into it why I think it's like, I wouldn't say worse, but like different than 3, but later. But yeah, so from this intro, we get like the basic plot where like the Maximals have this stupid ass MacGuffin number 64 called the
Transwarp key.
Yeah, which is like the same exact thing as like in all these other.
It's the fucking pillars from 3. It's literally the pillars from 3.
Literally the same thing that just allows Unicron to enter Earth or whatever world he wants.
Jacob, do you mind if I interject on this one? Because I think we're gonna go into this as we go through the movie. But just starting it off, the transwarp key allows them to traverse worlds and universes.
Right.
This movie, at one point, when later on in the Autobots meet the Maximals, which is like the halfway point, but just point, Optimus Primal says something like, "We are organisms from your past and future." I've been thinking about that line for like the last 6 days because they don't. Did you even really notice that they're multiversal?
No, actually, I didn't notice until like
because they don't explain it.
Yeah, I watched like a video like a few days later, like regarding kind of like regarding whether this movie is a prequel or a reboot of the main movies. Spoiler: it's pretty much confirmed to be.
It is not.
Reboot. Yeah. And like they're talking about like how like this like they're like these Transformers and Unicron or whatever might be like multi-dimensional beings where they come from other universes to I guess devour planets or stop Unicron or whatever the fuck the robots want to do that day. But like yeah, but like they definitely did like mention it. I'm kind of glad they didn't go too deep into it because usually multiverse shit is confusing and not very well executed. But yeah, it was definitely an like underlying
Well,
thing in the movie.
confusing and not well executed when you don't explain anything because
True.
you see this, they're on like an Earth-like planet. They escape through the transwarp key, and then when you see them on Earth, they're just like, we've been here for a bajillion fucking years. Which I initially thought that meant they were ancient Transformers. I mean, like as ancient as the regular ones, but that landed on Earth early, kind of like 99% of Transformers in the Bay movies land on Earth millions of years ago and looking for something. But they actually just landed there because it was convenient, and they're not because past. Okay, I get that. All of them can kind of be from past. Earth's past because they're animals. Robot past because they're ancient guardians of the key. But he says and future. So I'm just gonna lay this one out, and we can get through it as we get into the movie. But the only thing that line would lead is that the Maximals are Transformers from long after Optimus Prime and the Autobots and Decepticons in a different dimension. That dimension is consumed by Unicron, as we see in the first 5 minutes. And then they go through the portal, which takes them to a different world, a different universe that is ours. Because otherwise, there is no fucking way they're from anyone's future because they can't be.
Yeah. Also, like, okay, this might seem like a nitpick that confused me about this whole thing. Is that so? The Transformers who can like obviously transform into vehicles, they didn't like technically transform into like Earth-like vehicles until they came to Earth and had to become robots in disguise, right? But the Maximals,
They
their
turn into
primary
cars on
form is
Cybertron.
like as animals. But like
No,
when
they
they go to
turn into
Earth,
cars on Cybertron.
what?
They turn into like cars and planes on Cybertron.
Whatever. What do I know?
So the fact they're animals is they're just from a planet where they are animals. That's just them.
What?
That's like
So
their
okay.
planet. There's been a
Yeah,
bunch of.
I guess that makes
I
sense.
know it's
It
not
does
worth
actually no, it doesn't. It
arguing
doesn't
because
make
it's
sense, but like
it doesn't
I
make
guess it like
sense.
works in the world of the movie. I don't fucking know.
There's been tons of stories where the Autobots and Decepticons are like, oh yeah, let's go to this planet, and it's just like, oh, it's a bunch of Transformers, and they turn into fucking dinosaurs or monkeys or whatever. That happens in the Cybertron show. There are Beast Formers in Beast Former. That sounds gay as hell. There's animal Transformers in the original continuity. Some of them are from different planets. Most of them aren't. So they just were like, oh, the Maximals are this now, which, as I said in the pre-episode, that's not what the Maximals did, but whatever. They just like, oh yeah, that's kind of like the Maximals because they're animals.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
it's a whole mess. So Unicron devours this Earth-like planet. The main Maximals, well, the main ones in this movie because there's no Rat Trap or Dinobot or any of the Predacons. Okay, sorry. There's Predacons are like the antithesis of Maximals. Scourge has a fucking Predacon symbol on him when he kills Apeling. Who was that? Who did he kill? Because I don't see any Predacons, bro.
All off screen. All off screen.
Oh man, it's that Transformers really is the fucking off-screen franchise, isn't
Mm-hmm. So yeah.
it?
Ape kicks the bucket, and all the Maximals go to Earth. So we're then introduced to the main human plot of the movie, which takes place in Brooklyn in the '90s, which I guess like kind of makes sense, like since considering this is like supposed to be a sequel to Bumblebee, which it is a sequel to Bumblebee, and they have to I guess to like vaguely connect it to not make it set in present day. They try to like do something that's it's enough after Bumblebee where Haley Steinfeld is probably like uh doing fuck all somewhere else. So that
Fixing up a red
so
car.
they can do a completely different storyline, and and by different I mean a much worse storyline. But so I guess like before we go into the human subplot, I just want to mention how Bumblebee is like that movie is like focused way more on the actual like story and the relationship between the main character and the Transformer. In that, I think it worked out much better as a result of that. This movie basically goes back to how the Bay movies did it, where we spend like 10 to 15 minutes with the humans before
30
they're
minutes.
introduced into like this shitty bombastic world, and we're forced to be with them for throughout the rest of the movie.
This shitty, bombastic world is a perfect way to describe these movies. I really like that. So we're
uh,
introduced to this chapter of the shitty, bombastic world with Noah, who is introduced. The introduction scene, like the 20 or so minutes we get with Noah and then Elena, is pretty similar to Bumblebee in the sense that it completely pauses the robot action for a solid chunk. So you get to know the human motivations, personality quote unquote personality traits, in which it isn't like in the Bay movies, you meet Sam and you get a little bit of what he's doing, and then most of it's like, haha, funny, haha, he's a nerd and he loves Megan Fox, haha. This movie, it seems there's an actual, you say plot line. In this movie, it starts off as a plot line. Down on his luck guy, brother with sickle cell anemia, he was ex-military, and he, because of being, well, non-white in 90s America, can't get a job very easily.
right. At first, I thought it was like a pretty weird direction to take with it. But then I remembered how like stupid the original like plot line was of how Sam was basically this whole like plot was set in motion because Sam wanted to get a car to impress a girl, and like one that we're now we have a character that actually has some leverage and like actually has like motivation, like or a reasonable
God
motivation.
forbid.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I guess that this makes a little more sense. Uh, and the way that he's introduced to the Transformers world, instead of just like buying this like random stupid car off of, or this random car from Craig Rob what's his name again?
Bernie Mac, not
Bernie
Craig
Mac, yeah.
Robinson.
Sorry. Gets it from, like, since he needs the money, he gets a job from his friend I can't remember the name of, to steal
Reek.
a car.
Reek, like to the verb to smell bad. I think I
Gets
think
from
that's his
Reek,
name.
to steal a car, and I thought it generally worked better in that regard because now we have a much more, I guess, I don't want to say not definitely not morally gray, but a more like a more understandable character from, I guess, that sense.
I think that. Oh, sorry.
No, no, you go.
I think the character setup is much stronger, especially in the angle of this. I feel, I don't know if I need to say it because any two people on the internet watching this would be like, "What the hell are you talking about?" This movie. Well, sorry, the second like tenth of this movie is a complete 180 from the Bay movies in that it's uh, just people of color in New York having to deal with the ramifications of that. I mean, if you think about the broader picture of this movie, POC director, composer, main star, like writers, I think, compared to the first movie where it starts off with a bunch of white guys bullying the Spanish guy in the military. You know, it's a nice change of pace, and it does set up for a more inherently interesting a character setup, like where he's coming from, character context.
Mm.
But as we said, it's like 10 to 15 minutes, and when he steals the car, now you're saying that getting the car from the garage, stealing the car from the garage, is a better setup. I think it's better to give the character more agency, but also, even the movie says this, he gets into a car, it happens to be an Autobot, and then at that exact time, the Elena, the museum curator lady, triggers something, and then the Autobots have to do something at exact second. It's even more bullshit and convoluted than he picked a car and it was Bumblebee because the car actually in the first movie Bumblebee sought Sam out.
Yeah, I was
That
gonna
wasn't a
mention that too.
mistake.
Hmm.
In this movie, it's a better setup, but then the inciting incident is way more contrived. Like, yeah, whatever. We got some victories in there.
Yeah, I do like how basically Noah is just like he was just like in the wrong place at the wrong time. Instead of Sam Witwicky being the great grandson of
The guy,
Archibald Witwicky, who got the cyber key or whatever the fuck. I like how he's just like
the
he's just an average
glasses.
guy who just happened to be in a situation at that time. And I guess I should also mention Elena, who is also POC, and from that is somewhat discriminated at her job as a museum curator, and I guess like from that we see her we see her find the or I guess one of the
Half
MacGuffins
of the
from the
transwarp
carrot
key.
statue or whatever. Uh, which
Carrots.
yeah, I
There should have been a bunny. There should have been a bunny maximal to eat the carrot statue.
mm, sorry, Falcon statue. I'm reading the wiki while we're here. Uh,
Weakling.
I remember it. I just want to get like the details right. Uh,
Fair enough.
and
Fair enough.
yeah, and from that we see pretty much at the same time as the transwarp key goes off. We see um we see Noah go through the whole I'm in the car, it's driving itself. What's going on right now? Uh, and from that we get I guess the first major action scene in the film, which is the car chase with him not driving against the police, which in my opinion is probably the best and most memorable one in the film. Uh,
Really.
yeah.
I can. It has. It's the most creative, even though it isn't that long. Because okay, I'm just gonna say this here. Mirage is like a bullshit character. He could just pull anything out of his ass. He's like a Lego, uh, like ideas set come to life. So he can like invert himself on the road. His actual ability is that he creates holograms, which actually was originally Trailbreaker's ability. He turned invisible in the cartoon, but I'll let that one slide because it makes more sense. But it's just driving away from cops, and people are like, oh shit, this guy of color is stealing a car. So there's some vague social like stakes in there, rather than the car is driving itself because it's annoyed. No, Mirage actually needs to get somewhere, and he's just caught up in it. It's
Mhm.
pretty well set up in that sense.
Yeah. Uh, also it was generally I think it was just generally very very well framed, and also just had like a lot of good I just had a lot of good character moments in it for like I think which is probably the most we're gonna get throughout most of the rest of the film. Considering it goes pretty much goes straight into like the shitty Transformer stuff after that. But
Shit, he
yeah, I don't know. I
transforms
really
stuff.
liked it.
No, that was it was a nice change of pace from the Michael Bay car chases, which you do have their merits, but are often just nauseating. Like, oh, just
Yeah.
blow up this car, boom, blam, car
I
chase from
love
the
me
island.
some Michael Bay car chases, especially like Bad Boys 2,
Oh,
where
that
he gets
boys too. It's
ambulance, which is
actually good.
entirely car chase. Uh, but yeah, to me that was actually framed by that's someone who's not a
They
madman,
thought
which
about
is
it,
nice to see.
which is rare. We mentioned Elena. She's set up somewhat parallel to Noah in that she's working in her job. Also, not she has a job unlike Noah, but it's not the greatest thing. She has an extremely annoying like Long Island white person boss. I don't know how else to describe. Like if you've seen the movie, it's like dark universe Catherine Hahn. But so she finds this statue and she's like, "Oh, I don't recognize that statue," and also she's the only one that knows anything about the statues because everyone else has to be stupid for this movie, for her part in the movie to make any sense. I mean, hey, fair enough. But she, she goes to the statue. It's a statue of a bird. There's a bird transformer. Oh shit! And inside is what we learn is one half of the transwarp key. which sets up a giant sky beam, which I was like, oh shit, a sky beam. And then Optimus Prime says, "Oh, you can't see the sky beam, only we can." And I'm like, oh, is that how we were circumventing this? That how we're justifying there being a sky beam in the middle of New York? Good, well played.
Yeah, pretty interesting seeing a sky beam that's not the climax of the movie, at least.
Yeah, no.
Uh,
Dark of the Moon had a planet coming through a sky beam. This movie has a sky beam and then a planet coming through unrelated to it.
yeah. Uh, so yeah, I guess I'm not sure if there's not much to say from there until we're introduced to Transformers, when the car chase ends. But I guess I'll just go through some of them and I'll tell you my general thoughts. So I guess like the main ones, what's basically the Sam's Bumblebee in this movie is Mirage, who is voiced by the always great Pete Davidson question mark.
The
Uh,
ubiquitous Pete Davidson.
yeah, he's just been like everything lately. He's in Fast and Furious. He's in Guardians. Just every single major
The
franchise.
Guardians? Wait, am I forgetting him in
Like
Guardians?
like a small role in that, if you remember.
Maybe. I don't remember that in the slightest. I remember every other cameo in that movie. Sorry, I'm talking about a better movie right now. Let's get back on track.
Yeah. So I guess he's in a lot of ways he's like the polar opposite of Bumblebee, where Bumblebee doesn't talk; he really just speaks for radio. Mirage never shuts the fuck up.
Which I am surprised to say. I thought he was pretty fun. I was like, oh, Pete Davidson is the main character, but he's making either Earth references that it's like, oh, he's referencing Dumb and Dumber or referencing this. Then the humans and the Autobots are like, what the fuck are you talking about? Which I think makes it funny that the Autobots think he's a weirdo. They do. They hate him. At the end, they're like, we'll send Mirage to get the fucking key, like get rid of him.
Just send him out to
Which
God.
is that's what remember we joked about that in the first movie when Bumblebee was kidnapped, his legs were blown off. Optimus being like, "We hate Bumblebee. He's so
Yeah.
boring." But this is like it's like actually that.
Yeah. He wasn't like as bad as I thought he would be, but like I would definitely say he's not like I feel like they could have done a little better with him. Maybe make him a little less annoying or have a little more uh I just have a little more gravitas to him. Or I guess as gravitas as you can get with a transformer. Uh
Well, I think an easy fix. I know the haha funny references, which Bumblebee is now the haha funny reference machine. Don't even need Mirage for that. What you could have done with Mirage is play on the fact that he's like kind of an outcast for wanting to hang out and not be in disguise. You could have really leaned into that, where Noah is kind of not ashamed, but he's not allowed to give provide his skills and be himself because of the social climate, and then Mirage not being socially oppressed or anything like that, but just being like kind of an outcast. They could have played into that. That would require thought. They only have enough thought for one extremely ham-fisted connection between Autobots and Noah, and that's not Mirage, strangely.
yeah. I guess going off of what you said about Bumblebee, it's kind of weird how like he shifted from being, from being a guy who like, uses like the radio and songs to talk about it, where where in this movie he's basically just almost entirely just movie references. And they also mention this in the movie, or like, Bumblebee, you gotta stop going to that drive-in theater. Like it's weird how much his character changes throughout like all these movies, considering like he's a prominent character in all of them. In the first movie he's like kind of like,
He's an
kind of basic.
NPC,
Yeah, he's an
but
NPC. And we're like, and then
but
like
he
the later
speaks to the
movies he's
radio.
basically a child. And then Bumblebee, he's actually a good character. And this
Well,
movie he's
no,
just a
no,
reference.
he has no character, Bumblebee. That's one of the main issues, is that he's even more of an NPC in that. His only
Yeah, but
character
that's like
trait is
that's
love.
like the whole point. Where he
His
he loves
character
Bumblebee.
trait is liking Haley Steinfeld. That's a character trait. Then put me in these movies. God damn it! But uh, but the thing about this movie is they're like, oh, he's literally just a jukebox of movie references and not even songs anymore. He doesn't even use
It's
songs
just
until one
movies.
scene.
And
Which
like
I mean,
they don't even like work that well in the movie. We're like
no.
he does like we're like I think like he does like with like A Few Good Men. He's like, you can't handle the truth. Like it didn't even like fit what he was. I forgot exactly what it was. But
No.
it barely even
Yeah,
fit
he
what he was
also
saying.
does the They Live at the end of the movie. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, that's a line from a better movie. Like, thanks for reminding me of that, Bumblebee.
Yeah. Um. And then there's RC, which
You got
she
it.
barely gets any time to do anything. So
I I liked that her character was just doing ridiculous flips. She did at least like 100. You've ever played Lego Batman? There's a boss fight against Harley Quinn, and she just fucking does backflips. That's like her thing. That's what it reminded me of.
yeah.
She just would always do flipping, which again, if you think of it in relation to the Bay movies, how they framed robots, there were RCs, and yeah, they didn't have legs, which rest in peace, having legs. Who needs that? But they were like these weird thin things on wheels that use their parts for balance to kind of skate around. RC is just a chick, like a woman, and she just does flips like a CGI robot.
Yeah.
If you want a really good direct example of how the not exactly art style, but how the way they treat the robots as entities is, look at RC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's really nothing to her, but
Oh no, yeah.
it kind of sucks.
If you're not Mirage, Optimus Prime, or Optimus Primal, you just don't have a character in this
Yeah.
movie. It might be worse than the first one in that regard.
Yeah.
At least you got like Barricade is an op. Jazz is racially coded. Ironhide is annoyed. Like I didn't even like RC is a girl.
Yeah. There's basically nothing there.
There's
Same goes.
literally
Yeah.
there's more to her in the 86 movie where she was literally intended to be the token girl character. Come on, guys, do better than that.
I guess it
Do
also
better than
applies
that.
mostly to the Maximals too, which where most of them don't have like shit to do,
Rhinox
and and
doesn't speak at
yeah,
all.
and the other fucking Transformers, which are introduced like a little later, also have nothing to do because there's only like there's a plane which his only purpose is literally just to get them from place to place, and then Wheeljack
I'm
doesn't do anything.
It's like 5 lines and then becomes a background extra. We were like, oh yeah, Pablo, let's go. There's one kind of funny exchange with him and Noah, and then he fucking dips. But he doesn't, this is a dip, but he doesn't say anything. It's, I literally think it gives a lot of agency to Optimus. It gives a lot of screen time to Mirage. I think it actually does Primal really fucking well. We'll get to him
Yeah, no,
eventually.
I really
But
like Primal.
but everyone else is even more thin than the Bay movies, or than the first Bay movie. The second and third movies, I don't think half those characters even talk.
Yeah, no, they
So
don't.
at least we're doing that. We got a little diversion to some of the characters. Yeah, because that's the point in the movie, kind of like the first movie when Sam and Bumblebee meet the Autobots. Mirage and Noah drive to the Autobots, and then they all get to say a little few things. Optimus is like, "You brought a human here? Are you fucking kidding me?" Bumblebee says some movie quote. RC does a few backflips. Mirage says something funny. It's kind of on autopilot when the Autobots are there, which is nice that they're not trying to rip each other's fucking ears off or or become the new leader of the Autobots like in the
Yeah,
fourth and fifth movies. But
they don't hate each other except when they do. Except, which is
no,
also
everyone
funny.
just hates. No, it's all
Yeah.
one side. Everyone just hates Mirage because that fucking weirdo that never shuts up. But them meeting means they have to actually do something. And that something involves the museum that the character Elena is. You seem to be good on the plot synopsis, so if you want to take this from here.
Yeah. So I guess from there we go to the Transformers. Basically, well, actually, well, I guess it's like somewhat of a deal, I guess, where if Noah steals the Transwarp key for them, then they won't fucking kill him or whatever. Or actually,
Well, no, they'll just leave him
no,
alone.
they'll give him they'll give him the car.
Mirage,
So
no, Mirage made a deal because Optimus Prime is like, I fucking hate humans. I don't want to work with this guy. Mirage is like, hey, if you do this for us, I'll let me sell you. No, I'll let you
like
sell
you sell
me
me.
so you can get the money you need. Because they're chills, they're bros. I thought we were boys.
Yeah, where like it's the whole like one side relationship for like half the movie.
basically.
which I guess is cute in a way, but yeah. So I guess from this deal we see Noah go into the museum to steal the transwarp key, and from there, since Elena is the only one who's there, because she's a researcher and stays after hours to do a research or whatever, they
He's
run
on
into
the
each
grind.
other, and uh from there they have like this. Lunar's was like, them stealing the key, blah blah blah. But no.
I know giant
I'm working for
robots.
I'm working for transfer for robots or whatever. And then she's like, I don't believe you. And then Scourge comes and then blows everything up.
Oh yeah, he just blows up a window and then stops for like 10 minutes.
Yeah. And so then
Classic.
there's like that second. So then we have the next major action scene, which just generally involves trying grabbing one side, a struggle between getting the transport key from one side and the other. I guess the first major, or I guess the second major appearance from the beginning of Scourge, voiced by Peter Dinklage. So what do you think? Better or worse than his performance in Destiny?
Oh, way better. Destiny, he doesn't even try. He doesn't emote. That's what I'm not going to say hoping, but hoping was that he just wouldn't try. And this movie, Scourge is the edge, as we said, the edgiest motherfucker ever. Like, look at this guy. Just Google PNG Transformers Rise of the Beast Scourge in your computer. Like, it's like the Fallen, except instead of being vaguely tribal, he's just like a man. Like if Shadow the Hedgehog was a Decepticon. But I think you actually put it really well. He's to Unicron what who was that guy in Justice League? Steppenwolf.
Steppenwolf.
Steppenwolf is to like DCS and Darkseid.
Yeah.
He's
Where
just a
he acts all
jobber.
badass to all the other Transformers, but then when he's next to Unicron, he's basically his little bitch.
Wiener.
Yeah.
But he shows up to try to take the key. And there's one thing that I was pleasantly surprised by, and then it was eventually evaporated, is that this movie is like 10 Autobots or Autobot aligned people versus 3 Terrorcons. They're like, why don't they just jump them? And then they said something to the effect of, he has dark power from Unicron, which sounds bullshit and ridiculous, and it kind of is, but at least he's done that in the past. That's like a precedented Unicron thing, is empowering his people. So basically just gives Scourge plot armor, which it makes more sense why he's so confident in himself, because he's literally imbued with the powers of a dark god. Fair enough. That's why I actually don't know. That's why I assume that was why he was glowing orange, but no, he just glows orange. Battletrap and Nightbird don't glow orange, so they also die really easily, but they don't die in this scene because while there's a human action scene of Noah and Elena running from the two, they're called freezer drones. I have no idea why they don't freeze anything. They're just guys. They're just blokes. They look like the slightly crustier cousin of Frenzy from the first movie. Frenzy and Freezer are pretty similar names, but just call them sweeps.
Yeah, I can't even think about what they look like off the top of my head. They are not memorable at all.
Jacob, you have one. You have a sweep. You have a freezer drone now.
That was the one you gave me.
Yeah, the ones in the museum. I got him for his birthday. I got him one of these little.
A different one. Yeah.
No, I got him the Studio Series Core Class Terrorcon freezer toy because it's adorable.
I'm looking at it right now. I have it on my desk.
It's them. So they have, I will say, a very, very generic, overdone scene where it's 2 people in an enclosed space and the robots or the aliens are climbing on walls. Actually, my friends and I were literally going, bleh! We're just doing that in advance for when they jump scare you, and it does happen. It does happen like 5 times. It's like 4 or 5 different jump scares with these little guys. But we were just like, boom, 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 like in the theater. Because it's like, when are they going to do it? We know it's going to. We've seen a movie before. But outside, there's actual Transformer combat. And I know you said that the action scenes weren't that memorable. But God, when it wasn't cutting to stuff like Noah and Elena, I thought the robot action was really nice in this movie. Yeah, I thought it was clean.
It wasn't bad.
I thought it was, I'm not going to say it was mind-blowing, but you could see what was happening.
Yeah. Other than this, because this scene was set at night, so it's like a little harder to see what's happening compared to scenes later in the movie.
Because half of the cons are colored.
Yeah.
2/3 of the Terracon's explosion color.
Mm-hmm. Man. So I guess during this scene, your second prediction came true, where Bumblebee fucking dies like 10 minutes after he's introduced.
50, it was like my friend timed it because he knew about my prediction. He timed it. It was like 15 minutes and 30 seconds into the movie. Bumblebee is killed. Just straight up executed. I mean, it's because Scourge is well. The action scene is framed as the little Autobots fight the orange guy and the flying lady, and it's just Optimus versus Scourge, and because they're both trucks, I guess, just to make it fair. So Optimus is like, he's pulling out swords, axes, guns. He's doing like the full Dark of the Moon suite. And then he beats the shit out of Optimus. Bumblebee tries saving him, and he just executes Scourge. And then one of my favorite things in the movie starts where Optimus Prime's like, Scourge, you son of a bitch, I'm going to kill you. Yeah. I'm literally going to peel your face off. I'm going to tear your testicles out. Like, he's so fucking mad about it. I mean, yes, his best buddy in the whole wide world, Bumblebee, was just mercilessly executed in front of his eyes. But I don't know. Something was kind of just something funny. Like, Bumblebee's dead. Oops. Like, I didn't miss him.
Yeah. It is kind of weird thing because like I thought there was like a fraction of me that I was like kind of thinking, you know what, maybe it'll make Prime a little more like a slightly more, you know, caring,
a little traditional, sympathetic.
Yeah, no, he's just like the Bay movies. He's a ruthless killer.
Well, it's not even just like the Bay movies. The Bay movies, he's ruthless for almost like for certain, like for the first, second movie, and then by like the fifth movie, those movies, there's no reason for him to be that fucking mad. This movie, he is set up as a hater. Optimus Prime in this movie is a fucking first-class hater. He hates humans. He hates Earth. He hates Scourge. And he hates life. He's just miserable. Mirage is actually kind of happy. You know, no one else seems to care. Bumblebee goes to drive-in theaters. RC does some backflips. Optimus Prime sits in his fucking like office chair and cries. Like, he's not having a good time. So having his best friend be executed by the stupidest, edgiest man to ever walk the planet, I guess it would be demoralizing. So his anger is kind of justified. Oh, his anger towards Scourge is justified. His anger towards humans, we'll have to get into that one later, but I don't really think it's that justified either. Mm. But to move the movie on, Bumblebee is killed, which is again, if your kids love Bumblebee, you'll love this movie. Yeah. Watching the light leave his eyes.
It's also it's weird because again, literally, well, it just show how poorly these movies were thought out. Where literally the previous movie, he was the main character, had a whole character. Granted, obviously I wasn't gonna expect him to be like, you know, as
the main character again
in the movie where he was, you know, in the title.
It was named after him.
But like, he was gone from the movie for like an hour. It was weird.
He's killed 50 minutes in and he comes back 20 minutes before the end.
Yeah, like what?
He's like a cameo. He's like Stratosphere. He's like Ape Link. It's Bumblebee. You could go buy like a Bumblebee body wash for your toddler. You can buy a Bumblebee onesie. Dude is executed 15 minutes into the movie. It's awesome. I'm glad I predicted it because it made it so much funnier.
It was pretty funny. From
this whole action sequence leads to Scourge taking the piece of the key.
Yeah. So from there, he takes the key and brings it back to his master Unicron, and this part was, I think I chuckled a bit where, when he brings it, he's like, "You have the key, now you can devour worlds," and then he was like, "You idiot! This isn't the key. This isn't the whole key. This is only part of it."
Yeah.
And then he basically like fucking
gives him migraines.
He basically tortures. Well, he does torture him from there.
But Unicron does that.
Handled was like, I thought was like really funny
because he goes into like a mindscape where he converses with Unicron, which was directly from the Marvel comics. I appreciated that. Which also, can I go this for a second? The Unicron theme in this movie is the Unicron theme from the original movie, but like movie trailerified. I heard it.
The
I
original
shot. I
movie? Wait, was he?
Yeah.
He was
There's
only
there's a
five, right?
synchron. No, in the '86 movie.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Like the original Unicron theme is in this movie, basically,
That's cool.
and that made me very happy. But when he meets with when Scourge, quote unquote, meets with him, that's directly from the comics. The head inside of his body, visual. I have the comics they're from, but they also, I like that he goes into the mindscape, and then when Unicron tortures him, he tortures him so he's like flying, kind of like a Snoke in Last Jedi. So the other Terracons are like, "What the fuck's happening?" Because this guy's flying and writhing in pain. Like, what would that look like a battle trap? Master, you okay, bro? But yeah, no, he says, "If this, you only have half the key." About 10 seconds after Air Razor, I love how Primal says it, flies in, torches the Terracons, and then says, "There's another piece of the key. We're okay." So the audience is told something extremely obvious twice in a row, which I appreciated.
Yep. So yeah, so I guess Air Razor is the first main, I guess, like, again, over the intro where we see the Maximals. She's the first like Maximal in the main plot line, voiced by Michelle Yeoh, and she, I guess she's technically the most important and most important for the plot, but she really doesn't have like that much.
She's a plot device. I called it. She's a plot device and a paycheck.
Yep.
It's a bird. It's just a bird talking to the Autobots, and they're like, "Hey, what's up?" Mirage is like,
yes,
"Yo, Birdman,
right.
what's up?" And
it
the fucking bird.
Weird. It did, with a bird just talking like
the
that.
Beak like moved like a mouth. I didn't like it.
The gears like rotate in her mouth, like it was weird.
It wasn't that weird for Primal. I guess it didn't have a beak. Ape Link should have had a beak.
Yeah.
But so this is the first time the beasts appear, and I think I said this in one of the ages ago. This movie's called Rise of the Beasts. Not only is there no rising, it's more like Fall of the Beasts, because you watch two of them die. They don't really rise. They just kind of go back to doing nothing. It's kind of like just Transformers. Like, well, I think the working title and the toy line name is Beast Alliance, which sounds stupid, but it is completely accurate.
It makes more sense than Rise of the Beasts. Definitely.
Rise of the Beasts, bro.
I think
might as well just call it.
The whole thing was like, well, like again, like think of like Rise of the Planet of the Apes, where it's like supposed to be like the start of like a new trilogy. But in that movie, the apes actually rise.
They actually rose.
The beasts do barely. The beasts don't even levitate a little bit. The beasts are just stagnant. Stagnation.
They don't let Scourge. You go Rise of Scourge. Rise of Unicron. Rise of Nightbird. She's a car and she can fly. Oh, but yeah, the biggest laugh of us in the audience was when Mirage went, "They're flying now?" Because it sounded exactly like the Rise of Skywalker, they fly now thing. That was in there for us. Thanks, guys.
That had to have been intentional.
But so now
I guess the first
now the first act of the movie is over, and
finally,
I actually didn't think about this until now. Kind of similar to Transformers 5, where there is a distinct human plot line, and they just go somewhere else in the globe.
Yeah.
They just abandon it. Like, oh, you like this 1990s New York? This maybe not exactly nuanced, but at least like for a Hollywood movie, surprisingly interesting take on social injustice. No, we're taking the robot bird, the robot truck, Pete Davidson, and we're going to Peru.
Yep.
It does really feel like Transformers 5. Cogman shows up. You're going to England now.
Yeah, and I get the whole like globetrotting thing, which is kind of what these movies do. But like it's just like such like a drastic change from the world that we're first introduced to, and like in this first part of the movie. Like I don't think unlike the other movies where any variety was kind of nice. Like I was like I don't really want to leave it now.
It's like in Bumblebee. It takes place in California. It's like once she finds Bumblebee, instead of staying in that part of the world and continuing Haley Steinfeld's Charlie's character development, it's like if Optimus Prime shows up 30 minutes in, Haley Steinfeld, Bumblebee, we need to go to Africa. Like, we need to get Jetfire on the phone. Like, that would make no sense. And I mean, if it's the way the plot goes, I guess it has to quote unquote make sense. But it's a big ship. You don't go back to New York. There's no, oh, now the finale happens in NYC. They actually have avoided that.
Yeah.
Kind of impressive, also kind of disappointing, because they could have been cool to see 90s New York as opposed to 2020 or even 2010 like New York.
Yeah, I guess there's double-edged sword to that, because like we would have just gotten another like city battle that we've gotten in all these other fucking movies. But like at the same time, this was probably the most interesting at least one of the most interesting settings we've been introduced to so far. So kind of sad that
And the final battle just takes place in a fucking gray nightmare.
Yeah.
It looks like a Halo Forge map. It looks like a Gmod level. I could have used some buildings. But before they get to that, they go to Peru, and we are met with a baffling gag character that I knew about long ago, which made me very happy. It was Stratosphere. Because Stratosphere was a single toy from 2009.
It was so
and
funny.
a single mission cameo in a video game. And they decided to put him in this movie, which is insane. It might actually be more insane than Ape-Link, because he's not like, because Stratosphere doesn't die or anything.
Yeah, I just love how he was just like in this giant fucking plane. He was introduced, and he had like this fucking 1940s ass like bomber like hat and like mustache.
His goggles were the cockpit. Like that was cute, I think.
Literally just there to transfer them to Peru, and basically does nothing else for the rest of the movie.
He just sits down.
He just fucking
chills.
Robot. It probably could have been helpful in the final battle.
I think it's kind of similar to Jetfire, where he would have been helpful for 5 minutes before he dies of old age or something. I mean, okay, to be fair, Jetfire killed two different things before he died. Stratosphere might have been able to do that, but or imagine Stratosphere versus Nightbird. That would have been interesting. But no, he appears, he vomits an engine or something, and then there's the first like major hits you upside the head character development scene where Noah and Elena are talking about their character traits, basically. And then Elena's like, Optimus Prime is trying to be a big leader, but he's actually just a big brother. You're a big brother, right, Noah? And but I will say, I was laughing almost the whole scene because I was like, you see in the back, because the humans talking in the background are the Autobots. And unlike the Bay movies, they're all in robot mode. So it's Optimus Prime fucking sitting on the plane like a person, just chilling out with his like hand over his knee. And that was just really funny looking. Like that's like a Mirage or Bumblebee thing. But no, Optimus is just like, I'm just gonna
solitaire or something, yeah.
I'm just he would be playing, yeah. Mirage, you have that comically large deck of playing cards I asked you to get. And then they also bring Bumblebee's fucking corpse, which is hilarious.
Yeah, of course.
Because Optimus is just he's coping so hard.
But he's not technically dead, as we find out later. But
no, he is dead. He actually dies, and no, he's dead by them. He is resurrected, but he is dead.
Right.
That is a lifeless body. Just let me know. So they land in Peru, and then that's where me Pablo, who we joked about the other movies where it'd be like, oh, Sam goes to this building, and then Glubshitotron is like, hey, I'm oil can. I turn into a 2009 Honda Civic, and then he leaves the movie. Wheeljack shows up and is like, I was just observing a harmonious moment between a butterfly and an unopened caterpillar. Oh no, whatever. Fuck. You know what I mean? And then Noah's like, you have an accent. Do you speak Spanish, bro? And then Jack's like, is that a little racist? It's just so like, it's such an awkward, it reminds me of Bumblebee, how there was just so many awkward, clumsy attempts at jokes. But it made me laugh anyway, because this ridiculous, like, nerd stereotype guy, it's like, they didn't know what character it was going to be, so they just went, oh, Wheeljack. Because he's kind of like Beachcomber, who is like kind of the stoner Autobot in Classic. series, he looks like Urkel. He turns into a van like Ironhide and Ratchet, and then he's got an accent, which only is only a movie thing, basically.
Yeah,
It's just a
again, it is weird how these robots have like ethnic accents, but that's a whole can of worms that I'm not gonna get into now.
the movie doesn't get into it either. It's just like, oh, I
It-
live here. I have an accent now, and then I was like, okay, and then they leave. Once
yeah.
they get to Peru, they have to try to find the second transwarp key fragment.
Hmm. And from
Oh, and this
and from there, I guess we get our main like little human investigating shit where like they just sneak into like this festival that's going on in Peru and they have to like get into like these uh they have to do it really reminded me of last year's Uncharted movie and like it's like
yes,
like
that's exactly what I said.
yeah, or like the Lost City or something like where or it's just like these
Remember
like
Uncharted.
mediocre adventure movies are coming out nowadays. Where, like oh I'm gonna solve like this puzzle when the floor opens and they go through the catacombs to find the MacGuffin or whatever. Which I guess like I don't hate either of those movies. They're fine. They're like okay enough entertainment. But like this is a Transformers movie. I'm not going into it to see Indiana Jones light.
But you already got that in Revenge of the Fallen too.
True.
Hardly at first. So this is where Noah came along because he's friends with Mirage and he wants to save the world so he can prove himself to his brother. Which okay, fair enough. He's down on his luck. He might as well try and save the world. Elena's like, I know these symbols. I'll go along. We don't know what the rest of her family's up to. Friends, acquaintances, residents. Who fucking knows? She's going to Peru now.
Yeah, why not?
Well, and why not? She goes because she
Because
needs
my
to look at
dad
the
would
glyph.
say like, "Oh, my dad, if he was still alive, would be like, oh yeah, you should really go, Elena."
She goes to the ancient tomb in Peru under the festival, looks at one symbol, and then it's oh man, the fragment piece isn't here, and then action happens again.
Yeah.
The classic fake out.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was going to be that Scourge had it again, the second piece, and then in classic Transformers movie fashion, the entire last half of the movie would be an action scene, but that didn't quite happen.
Yeah, it was definitely more spread out throughout the whole thing. I definitely think this is kind of where the action scenes become a little more, kind of blend together a little more in my mind. Because granted, there was definitely some cool stuff here, but like I can't really pick out like that many specific details about what goes on, other than it being like I guess like a hybrid car chase.
So it's like a car chase, sort of, but they're going down a hill, like on the side of a cliff. So it's not a linear chase like the one with Mirage and the police.
It
All the
reminded me a little
Autobots
bit of
and all the. Hmm?
sorry, it reminded me a little bit of like the one in like of a scene in Fast Five where they go like across like the rooftops of Rio, but like definitely on like a slightly on like a I guess since they're robots like it wasn't quite as you know what's the word like
Plausible. I mean, Scourge
plausible.
jumps off of a
I don't know.
Peru
It
building.
just kind of reminded me of that.
Like, how does this like fucking 20-ton truck robot stand on one of those buildings? It would just crumple, bro. It just got very, very. Maybe Unicron makes him really light. All the orange stuff is like helium, perhaps. But it is a relatively brief. Like, I mean, again, like the one in the museum, it's brief robot action, but a good amount of actual action because it's the humans getting chased around in tight quarters by the freezer robots again, interspersed with footage of the Autobots and the Terracons duking it out. Except now instead of being robots, they're cars. It's really similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was some fun stuff. Most of it's in the trailer, like Battle Trap turning around, using Nightbird as an anchor, and then firing missiles behind him. That was pretty cool. Using his engine to fire missiles kind of goes hard. And then them all tumbling down and going off of different sides of the road. And then I think the standout part is where Optimus Prime is fighting Scourge. It actually reminded me a lot of the fourth movie when Optimus was fighting Galvatron. Because just the color grading was very similar. When he's
Yeah,
like,
galloping
Scourge,
across.
I'll kill you. I'll tear your face off. I'll kill your family. And then Scourge is like, uh, okay.
I
Like
don't
Scourge,
care.
yeah, Scourge is something to the effect of, like, the Unicron's coming. You keep trying. Everyone keeps trying. I thought a Prime would be better. But that the scene, there's, I guess, a somewhat understandable but still very funny and moderately contrived part where after fighting for a minute or two, um, Air Razor like shoots the bridge and then grabs the key fragment or whatever, and then but Optimus and Scourge are like 10 feet away from each other, but the bridge is kind of destroyed, and Prime's like, uh, "I'll kill you later." And then they just leave. Like the Terrorcons, like one of them can fly. Scourge probably has a gun, but they just like, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Those are like my favorite ways to end action scenes where it's like, oh, we'll settle this later.
It was so.
Happens
It was
sometimes with
like the
big
end.
movies
It was
too,
like a
but yeah.
commercial break. It was like an episode of a TV show, like commercial break fodder, almost. Like there should have been like fade to black or something like that with them. But no, they just go and they end up meeting with the other Maximals. And the beasts, they don't really rise. Actually, if anything, Primal descends from a tree, so it's more like descent of the beast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
From
you
there,
get to meet they're introduced, which is I'm Primal, the leader. Air Razor is the paycheck. She's a bird. Rhinox and Cheetor are here.
they don't do anything. Yeah, really,
They
the
don't
only
do
one actual
anything.
character was Optimus Primal, which, granted, I did like him quite a bit. I definitely think
They did him
that
justice.
Ron Perlman gave probably the best voice performance in the film. Uh,
Absolutely.
and his character, were like, well, again, like you obviously know from his character, he's like named after Optimus Prime. But like I think like the way like the way he acts, like, and like his, I guess, ideologies, the way they differ from Prime, kind of makes their dynamic somewhat interesting.
I agree, but in this movie, thinking about their relationship is weird because Optimus Primal acts like most versions of Optimus Prime.
Mm-hmm.
Optimus Prime acts like a Decepticon. Optimus Primal's like, we are friends with the humans. We may not love our situation. It may not be the greatest place, but we are okay with them. I also am the leader of this outfit, but I'm not fully comfortable with it because I have my own insecurities about losing friends. And then Optimus, who actually has lost a friend, is like, Scourge, I'll kill you. I hate humans. And there's a very another again. This movie's not subtle in the slightest. On the nose scene where Primal's like, "These are all the humans that we've been living amongst for several million years." And Optimus, there's a lot of shots of Optimus Prime just like, like what?
Robots and humans getting along.
Robots in disguise? Oh my god! Gotta get Primal. Literally, if you want to know about how subtle this movie is, there's a fucking scene where it's the same scene. It's the same scene 2 minutes later, where Optimus Prime's like, you've been working humans for this time. And then Primal basically turns towards the camera and says, yes, there's more to them than meets the eye. And then my eyes rolled so far into my head, I had a fucking panic attack. But it's like this movie presents a disgruntled, nasty Optimus that becomes a little more nice. But like, why?
I couldn't tell you.
Because why don't you do that to it? Like, what? Most versions of RC are nasty. Okay, the original RC is like, oh, she's a girl, she's motherly. In the comics, she's like, you gotta kill the Decepticons. Ugh. Like, why was it? Maybe you gave RC some screen time for once, or I don't know. Maybe Mirage is distrustful. No, Mirage he can be trustful. He could be the silly goofy guy. We can have one silly goofy guy, but maybe it would make more sense. I don't know. Optimus Primal and Prime had a good relationship, but it didn't feel like what you'd expect from Optimus Prime and Optimus Primal meeting. Because
Yeah.
in most continuities, they really don't. And if they do, there's just some. Well, I guess this movie's no exception. There's some bullshit continuity, Paul. Like, oh, we're from another dimension. Oh, we're from a planet 700 billion light years away. But I don't know. Primal's the only one that gets any development because he's dealing with the burdens of leadership. And this begins to not crumble but be diminished because Scourge fires some bullshit projectile at Air Razor that just makes her evil and red. I
Yeah,
don't know what
I was
that
gonna
was
say
about.
that. Like, there's like I feel like in like every like maybe like every third, every fourth blockbuster, there's like some like shitty like
Mind
arbitrary things that
control.
makes like a character turn on them. In this movie, it's literally just like some
It's the
device that
disc.
just makes it do
It's
that.
it actually looked like the talisman from Transformers 5, which I thought was funny. I wonder if they're related. But this whole thing leads to Air Razor's actually kind of, I'm not gonna say tragic, but sort of sad because Air Razor is very boring, exceedingly boring. But
Mm-hmm.
she's not mean, and you get to see her slowly unravel mentally over the span of like 5 minutes. Slowly, 5 minutes. But it's like that's kind of a bummer. And Optimus Primal like puts her out of her misery, and like that seems pretty powerful. I thought because
Yeah.
Primal the beginning of the movie, you have Ape Link and the other four Maximals, and Ape Link dies, and Primal's like, "Oh shit, I don't know where the rest of us are." And then they go on Earth, and it's revealed that they're the only ones. So that's like 1/4 of the Maximals just gone.
Hmm.
So Optimus Primal really doesn't have any friends besides the humans. Maybe Rhinox and Cheetor. They don't seem very talkative though.
Yeah, I kind of
And
like. Sorry.
hmm?
I kind of like how it was handled. Like I like I think definitely like that character like being a bird and you kind of like saw like her like because like we all know like what I guess not I wouldn't say that but like like the
The
way
bird
like
looks
they kind
like
of like animated like her like almost like not molting but like kind of like like kind of like acting like almost like this like
degrading, rusting.
wild rabid bird I thought was like animated pretty well and
Yeah,
just like
it's kind of freaky, which I
yeah
respected.
yeah I think I remember like you doing that did that jump scare there too.
Like I didn't do it that time, but I should have. I should have expected that.
Yeah.
And so, but the one thing when I was in the theater, I'm like, oh my god, a fucking. Well, didn't I say? Did I say something about Air Razor being used as a plot device? I
Uh.
feel like I thought about it, if not said it at some point. But her getting like in the beginning, she goes to see where the key is, and then she brings the Autobots to Maximals, right? So
Mhm.
even though I'm like, oh, bullshit plot device, yeah, that's all these movies, but like bullshit mind control device. It was very smart of Scourge to attack her, and it was smart of the filmmakers to make that the character because she had the ability. She had like heat seeking vision, which could see the humans, and more importantly, see the key frames. The other ones didn't have that. That's why he hit Air Razor. Because
Mhm.
when you see her like, oh no, Elena, I'm fine. I'm not being controlled by an evil, like horrible device. You see her point of view, and she's looking at the infrared signature of the key. So it makes sense that it would be that character that gets taken now.
Mhm.
So at least that's almost they almost thought about that. Like, what if it was Rhinox? Oh no, a rhino. All right.
Literally zero shits at all.
Oh man,
Actually,
I love regular Rhinox so much. Did my boy dirty.
one thing
But
I guess I'm not sure if I should mention this now or later. I guess I will do now. It
bring
kind of confused me
what?
how since like like how like the human or I guess like the human esque form of the Autobots are like their primary form with like their
Yeah,
transformations being that. So in this movie, like almost seems like the animal forms were their main forms
yeah,
with the
absolutely.
yeah with the man parts being like the transformation. So I guess their default appearance is the animals and they
I
transform into
was
men during combat.
I was joking that they just like it. They just want to vibe. I mean, they live on a jungle planet. They want to.
Why not?
I mean, I was joking with my friend on the way back from the theater. Like, you can be like a man, or you can be like a cheetah, and on a jungle planet. I'd be a cheetah, bro. I can run fast. I can eat robot deer or whatever. Ibs, elk. I don't fucking know.
Whatever, whatever robot she to do.
I didn't really mind that they were mostly. I did mind that Air Razor never transformed. That's kind of a bummer. But and I really like the redesigns of the Maximals, except for their color schemes, which might be more boring than the Dinobots in these
I
movies,
love
and
the
that's a
gray. I
feat.
love the gray.
Gray, brown, even the cheetah was orange. That's like you couldn't have sprung for yellow. It's not like you had Bumblebee on the screen very much. Cheetor literally was the Beast Wars Bumblebee equivalent. He was the let's go, big boss bot. And in this movie, he's just like, "Hello, Noah. We have to get the translop key." He's just like a fucking guy.
I get it. You can't like flesh out every character, but like they definitely could have done more with some of those characters. Some of them. I guess this also wouldn't be a
Rhinox
bad
has
time.
what was that?
I was
Oh,
just saying. I guess this also wouldn't be a bad time to mention the length and like the pacing of the movie, because as we all know, most of the Bay movies are really fucking long and drag egregiously throughout. Even the ones that I kind of like you could like. I think most people agree on. Could have gotten cut down a
like
good 20 to 30 minutes.
I love Dark of the Moon. That movie is like there's 30 minutes you just don't need.
Mm.
I think
Uh,
it's kind of funny. That's why I tolerate it. But
yeah. Again, like it's a Bay movie, so it goes as bombastic as possible, and in that, it makes it so that it has as long a runtime as it possibly could. This movie and Bumblebee too, I guess. They have a much shorter runtime. This movie was like just basically like 2 hours on the dot. Uh, and I'm not sure what I would prefer here because I feel like this movie like moved like really fast and like almost nothing got developed. But like, then again, like I don't think I would have wanted to be like that much longer. I guess it could have like developed some things, but like then
well,
again, I wanted to be in our Michael Bay situation where it's just like it drags on for so fucking long. Uh, so I guess like there's like a middle ground there somewhere, but I guess in a way I prefer like if like the pacing just keeps moving along to get to the climax pretty soon. Than what they did with Day, I guess. But again, like
well,
it could be
they get to the climax pretty soon in the Bay movie because the climax is 1.5 hours.
yeah. So yeah, yeah. I guess I more so meant the resolution of them.
No,
But
I agree.
yeah, like
I see that.
yeah,
I,
the climax happens like
if I weigh in, is that this movie has been I can already tell been torn to shreds in the editing room.
for sure.
There's tons of scenes that just did not fucking show up. My boy Transit. I was so excited. There was a guy that turns into a bus. He had like a mosquito head named Transit. That's awesome. Not in the movie. Not in the fucking movie at all. Maybe Rhinox and Cheetor did something. Not in the movie. RC or Wheeljack saying anything past the 1 hour, 20-minute mark. Not in the movie.
Not a movie.
So I think I agree that it's a slippery slope to add time to a movie so it doesn't become a slog. But as you said, and I think all of us at the theater agreed, I feel like anything happened.
Yeah. No.
It
No.
might have actually benefited from the Michael Bay movie runtime if it was full of things happening.
Yeah, because even like that, like Bumblebee was a shorter movie, but like since it was mostly focused on the story and the dynamic
It's pretty
between
dense.
yeah Haley Steinfeld and Bumblebee, it felt like it was a complete story that actually that actually was satisfying. This movie was not.
Not at all. We're getting to the point. We're at the halfway point. I would say once they meet the Maximals in Peru, there's some interesting stuff with Optimus Prime versus Noah on the topic of the key because Prime's like, we need the key. We need to go back to Cybertron, which I'll clue you in case you forgot, Jacob, and any audience members. Cybertron is completely controlled by the Decepticons.
Right.
Optimus Prime would go back to Cybertron and just get killed instantly. So another first strike against Optimus, like fifth strike against Optimus because he's just a fucking dick in this movie. But Noah, I think because we haven't said much about him, and he actually does get a lot more play than Sam or Charlie. Well, no, not more than Charlie, but like more play in the action and the plot than Sam or Charlie
Mm-hmm.
or ever did. But A lot of it is him like, hey, Prime, I know you want to use this key to get home, but if you keep the key, Scourge can use it to destroy the universe. And then Optimus Prime's like, no, 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 trust me, we've got it. Like, it's okay. I'll fix this.
Everything is chill, bro.
Noah is right.
Yeah,
But the movie doesn't respect that. At one point, he gets a gun from Mirage at the right before Primal has to put down Air Razor. He's gonna shoot the key, and at that point in the movie, when the Terracons are fucking wiping the floor with the Autobots, Air Razor's beating the shit out of Primal, and he seems like he doesn't have it in him to finally take her out. That was the right call. And then Optimus Prime's like, no, no, please, guys. He's like a child.
Sure. Like, granted, like, obviously, I wasn't in the situation where I was teaming up with robots to save the universe or whatever. I was just sitting in a theater with the fucking Fast X Mr. Pibb flavor.
It was so good. I got it too.
Yeah, it was really good, by the way.
It's actually just Pibb. He's not Mr. or anything.
Okay, sorry, Pibb Extra, whatever.
I learned that day.
Like just like thinking like, why the fuck would you do that when you could save 7 billion people? Like, why would you even run the risk of doing that for a race which, granted, probably doesn't have nearly as much as many people in the universe? Or just, why would you even run that risk? I wouldn't.
I have an answer. Because Optimus Prime is a Class A hater.
Number one hater.
He is I was gonna be my review. It was just number one hater. Because he's actually pretty unlikable. Like now I'm thinking about it. Like, are kids gonna want an Optimus Prime toy after he's just like a bloodthirsty, selfish asshole?
I mean, like they did during the Bay movies, and he was debatably even worse there. But I don't know.
Well, okay, no, in those movies he was a sociopath. When fighting the Decepticons, a psychopath when fighting the Decepticons, but he did always have like we will never abandon Earth. We will help the humans. He at least put on an air of wanting to give a shit. In this movie, which was probably originally envisioned as a prequel to the Bay movies, it isn't. Shut up.
Yeah, shut up.
He's even more mean. Like in the first Bay movie, people don't like, and when talking about how Optimus Prime's a maniac, the first movie, he's very nice. I think I said that during our review. He's like, well, humans are doing stupid things, but we also did stupid things, so we can't hold it against them. Like, yeah. Oh, that's fair. In this movie, he doesn't have that wherewithal. He doesn't have that. I don't know. It just doesn't click with him. It seemed weird that they would
envision to be a character arc where by the 07 movie he begins to care about Earth, but since these movies are completely separate things now, it definitely makes a little less sense.
It doesn't. I can't believe I'm saying this. They reverted how nice Optimus was from the Bay movies. How weird is that?
It's weird.
But so Prime's like, no, don't destroy the key, and then he doesn't destroy the key, which again, Noah definitely should have, but whatever. There's got to be a rest of the movie, I think. So that doesn't exactly end the second act, but it basically does. It comes the second act action set piece is over. Air Razor is executed, and everyone's just all sad.
All hope seems lost.
Classics end of second act shit.
Yeah.
Wheeljack says, "Aye, we're all gonna die," or something like that.
Something like that. And then Elena comes up with some. She really is just the character who just brings up some sciencey shit, and she's like, "Oh my god, Elena, you're right. You've saved the entire universe for your."
Well, you bet if Elena wasn't there, it would have been Pablo.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess from there, she brings up, "Oh, but maybe we can save this from through blah blah blah," and I guess through some bullshit after they get the key. The third act starts from, because I feel like there really isn't that much to discuss from there other than just
there's little things to touch on, not a lot of big picture. because the plot becomes the Terracons have the key. Get the key.
Yeah.
Basically.
And from there, like,
and the only fold in that is, Unicron is sending millions of scorpions and freezers. Whoopsie.
Yeah. So I guess, from there they, with Elena and Noah going into, like, I guess, like, the ducts of, like, of the, I guess, what the fuck is it called? Like, the Terracon base that they
there's a giant fucking volcano. Reminded me of Austin Powers too, where there's just like a giant conspicuous volcano. But Scourge goes there, he puts the key in the ground, and then it just becomes a robot lair. Like it's like the grenade, the grenades in 4, where Galvatron and Lockdown are like, we gotta get the grenades. We need to make more Terracons or make more Decepticons or sell it to the highest bidder. This movie, that just happens. There's no explanation for it. Which, why not, right?
I mean, like, do I want one? Probably not.
It would be stupid. Like, I'm talking about the time and space thing with the Maximals. Like, if they explained it, it would have made no sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
it absolutely made
now
no
we
sense.
have this metal volcano Terracon lair. Thank you for clarifying. And I guess
lair is a good word.
But it is. But so I guess from there,
like, what happens?
Go like into like, I guess, like the under it to sneak into and put in the key to.
What I think it is the robot layer part of it was built over the volcano. They're just like on the floor of that, because there's one point where Elena goes over. It's like a cliff, but it's the middle of the volcano with the lava. And for a second I didn't know what that was. Then I remembered that they're on top of a volcano. It's weirdly unclear.
Yeah.
God, but yeah, Noah is because I guess this movie he's all about stealing shit. That's what they've reduced him to. Noah, Elena knows the maximal symbols. It used to be Air Razor was the only word I knew them, which. Good job, Rhinox, Cheetor, and Primal, for being lazy and not knowing the symbols to the fucking omnidimensional doomsday device. But the Air Razor did, and it calls back because Elena found the Air Razor statue that they hid the key in, and she knows the symbols from that. It's almost a good character thing. Like, it's close. It's close.
Almost.
It's like as relevant to the plot as Carly telling Megatron to kill Sentinel. It is eventually important. So there's another scene where there's more freezer drones attacking them in enclosed spaces. It does get tiresome. I mean, there's a million of them in the final battle, but at least they're on land and they just get instantly killed. You don't need to wait 10 minutes for Noah and Elena to outrun them. That's the other 2 times in a nutshell.
I really wish I really wish I had some notes here, because there's nothing I could bring up here other than some stuff from the final battle.
Oh well, I think I can handle that. The final battle begins with Elena and Noah and Primal creating the idea to distract Scourge and then get the key, which begins to spiral out of control because Unicron sends a bunch of foot soldiers. So it's actually, even though I joked earlier, it's like 10 guys versus 3. It's 3 named robots and then a billion. Why does Unicron have scorpions? Forget it. Who gives a shit? Who gives a crap? We gotta continue. So Scourge, the Terracons are just standing at the bridge where the key is to protect it. Mirage, Noah, and Elena, because Mirage distracts Scourge, which feeds my theory that the Autobots hate him. Because Optimus is like, Scourge, my arch nemesis, the strongest son of a bitch ever. He's literally the powers of God. Mirage, deal with him. Just kind of funny. And the Autobots and Maximals get to destroy a large amount of jobbers and deal with the other 2 Terracons in a scene that is chopped up and fairly short for the way I'm describing it. But I think still very legitimately cool. cinematic scene where the Autobots literally roll out. There's a Autobots and Maximals roll out. It's just like it's cute. They tried.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, he said it. And so the Autobots roll with their guns. All the Autobots had the same gun,
I didn't, but yeah, I think you're right.
except for Bumblebee. But
Bumblebee has
it's he had
built in
machine
already.
guns. But
Yeah.
it's actually not like lazy Hasbro. In the Prime show, they all had the same kind of gun. It looked exactly like that. So it might be a reference, or it might just be they gave up at different. They gave up in the same way at the different times. But so the Autobots, all like 4 or 5 of them, except for Stratosphere and Bumblebee, because Stratospere's lazy, Bumblebee's dead. Go attack the army of Scorpions and other assorted deranged robots. And there's some really cool moments in it. Like the Bay movies are these grand spectacles of robots crashing into robots and exploding in a million pieces. But this is more. It's not exactly on the same level, but the action reminds me of some of the more. I don't know how to say it, but the quality like MCU movies where they'll like in the Avengers or Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, where the characters will get like a moment to do something unique to them and then it'll pan to someone else and keep the momentum going. There's actually sorry.
Oh, I was saying, like the whole like setting and just I guess like aesthetic, and as you described, like every character kind of doing something. It reminded me of like a way less climactic and interesting version of Endgame's fight. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, I absolutely see it.
definitely some like similar. I'm sure it was influenced because since Endgame is the second most
Very
Marvel
popular.
movie ever, a lot of writers want to copy it.
It's
And
kind
you
of it's kind
definitely
of
saw fragments of it there.
no, Rise of the Beast is going to make 10 cyber trillion dollars. So then it'll be number 3. But this movie hasn't yet failed the box office, but we're yet to see on that one. But back on the action. I was pointing out in the trailers there were some cool moments, and that extends. There is a long shot where you see a lot of the Maximals and Autobots doing different things, like it's Primal ripping off the heads of Scorpions, which like that stuff is cool, but I'm surprised they didn't make Primal do more primal things. He's a gorilla. He should just be rampage. Like they had the Rhino doing that. They had the cheetah moving around. RC was firing her guns off Cheetor, which was pretty nice. There and at one point there is for the Transformers fans, the Beast Wars fans. Primal says Maximals maximize,
Yeah, I
and
was
they
gonna say
transform, which
that.
is more confusing. Like what Jacob said, why are they not robots before? But that scene goes pretty fucking hard because even though think about Beast Wars as a toy line and as a show, the transformations are really boring because most of them are quadrupedal animals. So it's like front legs are arms, back legs are legs, torso is torso. What can you do? Most of the toys fall into that trap. Like I have a Cheetor toy, and it's exactly what I just described. But in the movie, they tried making it kind of interesting. Like Optimus Primal, his head, like the gorilla head, kind of like inverts into the Optimus head. Like you see his mask flip up and the ears come, and he like jumps into his robot mode. It's real. That clip is really fucking cool. Like they didn't do that shit in the movies.
Yeah,
Like you mentioned it.
Transformation in this movie like way better than like
Oh, they're
later
so
than like
good.
Transformers 4 or 5.
And I would
Considering
argue
that
even
was
the slow
competition,
ones
but it's
are similar to the like in the first few movies. They're a lot more slow and drawn out. But this gets a balance between being quick. I mean, Bumblebee did it really well. There's a lot of transforming in Bumblebee, even if it's usually the yellow lad himself. But seeing stuff like just the flair, like if this was the Michael Bay movies, if you look at the Dinobots in the fourth movie for the most similar example, the Dinobots just stand up. They're just robot dinosaurs that just stand up and pull out like a mace or something. But like just the flair of Primal, like doing a fucking full flip, or Rhinox. Like I like when Rhinox transformed, he just had his hammer like ready to go. He is not fucking around. I really wish Rhinox had more time because his design in this movie, you could say someone who knows what the design looked like, watched a bit of Beast Wars. They like you can squint and you'd probably notice they're the same characters. But Rhinox is the most accurate one, and he does nothing. He just gets a silly hammer, and Cheetor gets a really cool like staff. He doesn't have staff normally, but I thought that was because most movies that aren't like full on action movies don't have characters with staves of any kind. I thought that was neat. I don't know.
Yeah,
Just a,
I actually never thought about that. Yeah, you're right.
you have like largely Japanese action has like a bow staff or something. But he had like a full, I don't know if I call it glaive. I don't fucking know the difference between glaives, halberds, spears. Probably a spear. But it is more interesting than just, oh, the rhino ran into something, or the cheetah scratched something, or I know I said I wanted Optimus Primal to just beat the shit out of things, but I mean, it's a robot could do that too, and do that too. And then they as after praising the Maximals doing action stuff, the Autobots are just shooting their guns. It's just like,
Any other way.
I mean, in Bumblebee, the robot on robot action is outstanding. They're like they don't just use their guns; they use like melee. They punch each other. They transform. The Autobots just kind of forgot how to fight. RC didn't forget how to backflip though. I respected that. That's her one thing.
Next time
You
I
gotta
watch a
keep
movie, I'll
that.
try to count how many times he backflips.
At least 4 in the warehouse alone. It's like, believe me.
Yeah.
So this action step is largely a distraction because the humans have to get the key and Mirage. So then there's I'll describe it as brief to be nice, scene of Scourge, the ultimate evil, and Mirage, the runt. He just gets destroyed. He just gets fucking destroyed.
Annihilated.
He gets blown apart piece by piece. So if you don't like Pete Davidson, you'll love that. I've already said that because I said this is going to happen, and I was right again. But I looking at it in the context of the movie, Mirage being the protector. We didn't even mention Noah's brother, the brother with. Well, we mentioned that he has sickle cell anemia, but he's like, you can get him, Noah. I'll make sure Mirage protects you. That kid is ballsy, by the way. That kid should have actually fought the Decepticons or whatever.
I was thinking. Actually, I can't take credit for this because I saw it in. I forgot what review. It might be Chris Stuckman's review, where like I wish maybe instead of Elena, or maybe like in addition to Elena, we could have had him come along to actually like further that like that brother dynamic. Because like he was definitely like a fairly decent child actor, and I think it would definitely been more interesting if he was with them throughout more of the movie.
And the character is interesting because he's a kid that's not death at that point deathly sick, but definitely sick. But he's like he threatens Mirage. Like the kid's ballsy. Mm-hmm. He's like Optimus Prime. I love that Optimus Prime's like a punching bag to us after these movies. But I thought he was going to come along because he at one point was like, "I'll pack my bag." I thought he was going to let him, which I guess he wouldn't be a very good brother if he let his sick brother go to Peru and then the volcano of doom. But no, I there could have been something there. I agree, but that connection is sort of vicariously supported through Mirage because the brother calls him through Mirage, and Mirage is always relaying stuff from the brother. So there's like a kind of like messenger, like pen pal almost dynamic with them. But when Mirage is getting killed, again, like brutalized. After Bumblebee, I'm not going to say wasn't violent because the dropkick explodes. But like once the movie starts and Ape Link gets like fucking torn in half, it's like, oh, okay, we're back to this. I see, we're back to the gratuitous violence. Bumblebee is stabbed once, but I mean everyone else is just torn apart in this movie. We'll get to what happens to Scourge later, but Scourge, on top of him again, kills Mirage straight up. Mirage forms himself into a slick robot suit that looks like Mirage, which is kind of funny. Like it has like headlights. But and it is indicative of the classic Transformer power suits in the sense that a human gets to fight. And I think for Noah, it's if that was Sam or even Cade, get the fuck out of here. But like, remember, he is a soldier. He knows how to fight.
Yeah, I was thinking that. it was like I would definitely prefer like this I guess way to bring the humans into action than just Sam just like bumbling around this like giant fight with the MacGuffin in his hand. And with so instead like Noah can be an actual member and mech member of the combat and be helpful other than just carrying the MacGuffin. And there was some cool stuff that with it. I also want to mention I feel like the whole power suit thing might try to bring in something else, but I will say that for the end.
I think I know what you're talking about. It is reminiscent of something from one of my other favorite shit movies.
Yeah.
But so he gets the power armor suit and he gets the ability to kill at least some of the freezer drones, which is after a whole movie of them annoying and jump scaring the audience. It is nice to see Noah just blasting them left and right. I said I like them, but them as a them as a creature, great. Them as a thing I have to worry about in the movie, stale at that point. And then at that moment, Optimus Prime, because in these movies, Optimus Prime's always like late, right?
Yeah.
He's always 20 minutes late. In this movie, he's super early because he wants to leave. So he's like, I'll kill Scourge and get the fucking key. You guys don't need to worry about this. And I was like, no, Optimus, no. It's kind of like reminded me of, is it too weird to say that scene where Optimus goes to fight Scourge for the key reminded me of the end of Space Jam 2, where Bugs Bunny sacrificed himself because he's depressed. It reminded me of that a
I
lot.
didn't
I don't
think
know
about
why.
that. Maybe a
I don't
little
think
bit.
anyone did or should, but I did.
I
Uh,
respect it. I,
it's just
I
like the
agree to an extent.
disgruntled Paragon character. But he goes to fight Scourge, and for some reason he just doesn't get immediately kicked. His ass doesn't get immediately kicked, which I mean I guess has to happen at some point. But there were some funny things in the fight because they're fighting at the volcano and there's just like some lava. And at one point, Optimus throws lava in his face. Oh, also his mask gets shot off by Mirage, and it's like, oh shit, we're gonna see who Scourge is, and it's just Ultron from the end of Avengers: Age of Ultron when he's like the
Right.
last drone
Yeah.
alive.
It looked
I have.
suspiciously
If
like him.
you want, do you want me to? I have a high definition screenshot. It looks exactly like Ultron,
Send it to me
but
later. Yeah.
but so it's like, oh, and it's just a normal guy. You think that the mask would be like, oh, it's an alternate universe Optimus Prime, or oh, it's like Megatron from another universe or some shit. No, it could have been a Galvatron, but he's like, oh, Optimus, you're beginning to piss me off, etc. And Optimus, you know, in the movie says he's gonna like tear his face off and mount it on his wall or some garbage. Optimus Prime fucking disembowels him.
Yeah, which is
Mirage
weird.
like
Like,
hit Mirage, not Mirage. Oh, the Mirage suit gets him in the ankle, which gives Prime the opportunity to slice off both of his arms, stab him in the neck, and rip his fucking skull off. It is while drowning him in a fucking waterfall of lava.
now you die.
It's
Classic.
extremely metal and so unbelievably overkill. It's like that's for us. That's what we want to see movie Optimus doing.
And it's for the fans.
It's not just for the fans of Transformers. It's not for the fans of Transformers. It's for the fans of the movie Transformers, which I guess at this point is kind of us. We're already a few movies in. We're already
Yeah,
one
too many.
full rebooted series in. But it's like even people say in the Bay movies he's violent. He's not always that violent. He's like in the first movie he just decapitates Bone Crusher. In the second movie he just shoots people. In this movie he said I'm going to disembowel you, and then he just does that. He's more direct with that, and he gets to learn. He learns
It's
to
like a
be
different side of ruthless.
yeah. I, dare I say hatred,
Maybe. Just
because he is the number one
yeah,
hater.
because it's not psychopathic. Because he has a reason for it, but like it's just pure rage.
Yeah,
Yeah,
more so than most Megatrons, I'll tell you.
yeah,
But
man.
so he kills Scourge. It's like, so we forgot to mention the other guys are killed too. Battle Trap is pulverized by Optimus Primal. And then Nightbird is. Oh no, Nightbird dies later because Optimus is fighting Scourge. She kills Scourge. They get overrun by creatures, and then the giant metal volcano lair emits an energon pulse, and then it's set up earlier through one line, like Air Razor's like, "There's a lot of dormant energon here. We can't make it work, but like if there was something really powerful, then maybe." And then when they're doing the plan to steal the key, Noah or Primal or someone says something like, no, not Noah, but like one of the robots says, if there was a really big surge of energy, there would be an energon wave that would be released. It's like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So this wave hits the dormant corpse of Bumblebee, and then Stratosphere gets off his lazy ass and air drops Bumblebee to Mama Said Knock You Out by LL Cool J, which I feel like should have been like the audience, like, woo, yeah, woo. I was like, okay, Bumblebee's alive. It's also the only time they use a song after they leave New York.
Yeah, that is a little
Straight
weird.
up.
Yeah. I was thinking that because like obviously the movie takes place in the 90s and has like a very 90s soundtrack, but like I guess like throughout like there's like a very much of a disparity between, oh you know I'm in New York, we're playing you know these popular songs from then, to just like random shit happening in Peru with like nothing memorable playing except for that, I guess, at the end, just to,
and
I don't know.
the moment is the Bumblebee is airdropped. He just starts gunning down shit, and like he lands, and that's when he does the "I've come here to." Actually, he truncates the quote. He just says, "I'm here to kick ass," which I feel like you've destroyed why that quote is good, Bumblebee. Good work, you fucking idiot.
You cut it off like a third of the way through.
You cut off the good part of it.
Yeah.
But I thought Bumblebee was gonna land and like kill Scourge, but Scourge had already been dead. I think he just lands, kills some. I think he does kill the plane. He kills us Nightbird, which okay. Like we haven't said anything about the other Terracons because they're all. I think I saw a meme that put it best is just me when I'm in a generic movie dialogue competition and my opponents are the Terracons. I think that about sums it up because I like the voices for it a lot. I think Dinklage did well. Battle Trap was voiced by David Sobolov, who's in a lot of Transformers stuff. He actually was his first thing was Beast Wars. He was a Bumblebee. He was did you think you could hide guy in Bumblebee that gets killed early on in that movie. He's also apparently Rhinox, though you wouldn't be able to tell. And the I don't know the actress for Nightbird, but I actually really like she had very generic dialogue, but she was very sassy about it, which I respected.
Mm-hmm.
But Bumblebee lands, kills some things, and the only part that I thought was really like, oh shit, like that's pretty cool. Bumblebee comes back is that he drives with Noah. Noah like uses his thrusters to like get a super drift in a Bumblebee where he fucking runs over a bunch of Terracons and then like transforms, gunning them down. That was a pretty cool shot. It was just one shot though.
Yeah.
I mean, there's supposed to be like this, like Bumblebee's really he's back and he's ready to kill people. They could have done more with that, or just bless and not had him die.
Yeah, there was also that fucking. We mentioned this in the beginning in the pre-show episode, but there was like that one shot with like where we all saw all the Transformers doing shit, which, granted, like when we saw it in the trailer and like almost like separated from the rest of the movie, I was like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. Then like when but then when I actually saw it during the movie, I only realized like halfway through, I was like, oh, this is the scene.
This is the shot we're talking about. It also doesn't extend beyond that. Like the end of the shot in the trailer is the end of the shot in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's going to be more. There's a little bit before it, I think, too. But yeah, at that point, it's basically just Optimus Prime, like, oh, I'll get the key. There's a bunch of freezer drones. Bumblebee, good to see you back, my man. And then Noah in the power suit shooting shit. There's a point where you just don't see the other Autobots or Maximals for like 10 minutes. No, not 10. Like, it's more like 3. It's more like 2 or 3, but it feels like 10. Because the vortex that he called them Predacons. Maybe I just want them Predacons. The Terracons were opening that leads Unicron into the planet, which is very similar to the end of 3. That's what I was talking about. They literally open a portal, and the Unicron planetoid starts looking into the atmosphere. It starts causing evil clouds for no reason, which I like. It just adds the kind of cosmic horror of Unicron. Because cosmic, like OG Unicron, is kind of like a Lovecraftian thing, which I really liked. And it's not. They don't do that in this, but eh. The point is that when, like in Dark of the Moon, the system is shut down and the what was being sucked through gets sucked back. In this movie, it actually causes a vacuum, kind of like Transformers 4, where everything with an asterisk, everything gets sucked up into it. Because Optimus Prime gets sucked up into it, but Noah doesn't. Bumblebee doesn't. Primal doesn't. Just Optimus Prime specifically gets targeted by the Unicron vacuum. And it's like, oh, we have to save Optimus Prime. And then he gets saved by Noah in the power suit. And that's supposed to be the, oh, I guess humans can be good
Yeah.
moment, which was
Like
pretty
all like
lame
the
because
fucking yeah. All like
I was
fucking grandpa
distracted
T'Challa
by how stupid it was that shit was flying around Noah. Like a lot of movies have that problem where it's, you have like something that sucks up something else. You can't have everything be sucked up by it. I think it happened in Man of Steel, unless I'm mistaken. But
yeah.
it was just especially lame when it's supposed to be this like heartfelt moment. It's like that doesn't with these movies with giant robot aliens. You shouldn't normally be saying, "Oh, that doesn't make sense. That's implausible," because it's also stupid. That's the kind of moment where you can't not think something like that. But that this movie almost won me over. 2 hours in. Well, an hour 50 minutes in, because after they bring Optimus Prime back to like the road, they start playing the fucking Transformers '07 music.
Yes. I was
Yeah,
you like turned to me and were like, yo, there's a fucking
I was like,
music.
"It's the
I was like,
music,
holy shit,
Jacob!
right.
It's the fucking music!" I
Yeah.
was so excited. Like this whole movie,
I
I
didn't
was
think they would play it
making fun of
like
it.
I was like waiting for it because I figured like, oh, they might play it like when we meet all the Autobots, but they didn't. And I was like, ah, look, they're not gonna play it. But then like for some reason, for a part that really didn't need it, for a part that really didn't make sense for it that much, they played the fucking Arrival to
Arrival
Earth
to Earth.
theme. Yeah. And I was like, holy shit, yeah.
Holy shit! And it does happen at one point. I thought was really cool because Optimus is hanging on from the vacuum. Noah gets on the back with the thrusters in his power suit, and Optimus he transforms, but he transforms exactly like a toy. Like the legs go in the back, and then his torso flips around like an actual Optimus Prime toy. Which I was like, that's cool. Like they finally made him do the right thing. Which it took long enough, and they all drive to safety, and then oh god, uh, uh, maybe the Maximals say something, maybe Unicron says something. I think Noah, I think Elena puts her head on Noah's shoulder. It's so cutesy, and then the movie ends basically,
But
except one scene.
this
There is
one
one
scene,
scene.
I think,
I
is either
felt
the most
duped
genius or stupid thing I've ever seen
both.
in a blockbuster. So, pretty much at the end when everything is resolved, the Transformers still aren't since the key was destroyed, they can't go back on to Cybertron yet or whatever, and Unicron still is trapped. They can't go to Earth. We see Noah interviewing for a job, and things seem to be fairly normal for a while. But then he was like, "Yeah, I was on a business at Peru," and he's like, "Oh, you mean with?" And then the guy interviewing him was like, "Oh, you mean with the Transformers?" And he
Or
was like,
doesn't say that, but he's like,
"Yeah,
oh, he said, how was the food in South America? It's like, well, I didn't say anything about that.
yeah."
There's
So
one, he mentioned one of the places he went to that he didn't say already.
yeah, so like throughout, so I guess throughout that conversation, it basically implies like, we've been watching you, Noah Diaz, and we could use your set of skills. So then, this whole scene, was like obviously teasing the next movie, and as you thought, it would be Sector 7, because that's
I'm
like the
stupid,
Transformers.
apparently.
Yeah, big thing. But then the door opens. It's like, we'd love to have you on our team. Like, give us a call when you're done or something.
Terrible green screen. One of the worst I've
Yeah.
ever seen in my entire life.
Give him the card, and what do we see on it? But fucking GI Joe. And the movie ends. That's the last shot of the movie.
On the frame of a guy with a business card of the classic GI Joe logo.
What a fucking stupid
Unbelievable.
ending and stupid fucking tease for the
I
next
wasn't.
universe.
Everyone there but me was like, "What?" And I was more like, "Huh?" Because I don't know. I don't think I need to clue you in. The GI Joe, they're military. They fight like terrorists. The whole scene, the guy is talking about like, "Oh, our organization helps deal with the extraterrestrial." GI Joe isn't. That's not what GI Joe does.
I mean, granted,
That's what Sector 7 does.
I watched the two live action. I haven't seen the Snake Eyes movie, but I've seen the two other live action movies. And yeah, they don't fucking deal with robots in space. I don't think, at least not usually.
I was saying that for literal years in the IDW Transformers continuity, there was the crossover between GI Joe and Transformers that actually just became part of the continuity, like straight up. Like that's just canon. That's just GI Joe and Transformers exist in the same universe, and that same universe existed from like 2005 to 2020. Like that, so it's not unprecedented. And I was before we saw this movie, I was talking to Jacob about they've been trying to make a GI Joe Transformers movie for years before they even got Michael Bay on, actually. But they didn't get the chance to because the Transformers movies were successful by themselves, and the GI Joe movies they made as standalones were not as successful, or just flops straight up. Mm-hmm. So they put it in the back burner. But this ending, it doesn't imply the little crossover. If Rise of the Beast makes enough money to get a sequel, there are going to be GI Joes in it, straight up, and we just kind of have to accept that. And on the statement, "This is the stupidest ending of all time," I agree. I don't even think it's stupid because it's trying to expand the Hasbro universe or whatever, because they could have done that in the Bay movies and it would have made way more sense.
Yeah.
Because of the live action movies are basically Michael Bay movies. Like if you saw like a GI Joe show up in Revenge of the Fallen or Dark of the Moon, would you really be that surprised?
No, because the Rise of Cobra movie, which came out at the height of the Transformers movies' popularity, were basically fucking Transformers movies, but with guys instead of robots.
And they even use power suits, very much like the one used by Noah at the end.
I was gonna say that. I think it also this might be like a huge stretch. It might also be a slight hint at Power Rangers.
Power Rangers is not same continuity. It's Mattel.
But I mean, it's still Hasbro property.
They sell Hasbro sells its toys, but Mattel and I'm pretty sure Saban still has something of that. Okay. I don't think that's in the cards, but because GI Joe isn't usually, if ever, supernatural. Power Rangers is basically just magic, right?
Yeah. I wasn't like.
I mean,
obviously, I thought it was like more so. It was obviously more so implying GI Joe, but there was like a slight part of me that I was thinking, like maybe Power Rangers, but probably not. At least not at the moment.
Well, I said I thought it was Sector 7 because I swear to God, it was, and they just reshot it. Because the only parts of it that would have been changed are the GI Joe card, and I feel like an idiot for not noticing this. There was a plaque that he moved to open the secret door to the horrible green screen. It was like the Real American Hero.
Yeah.
I definitely should have noticed that. But
yeah.
All of these things you can fix in like 10 minutes of editing. I think it was going to be Sector 7. But they went, well, Sector 7 is a little too normal. We can't make a franchise with that.
I mean,
and they just fucking
wouldn't have been as surprised, or at least as intrigued if it was just a normal Transformers thing that they were teasing.
But also the thing is, in Bumblebee, there is Sector 7. So they exist. They're just two different secret organizations that do the same fucking thing.
Yep.
Which makes it even stupider. Like, you think, G.I. Joe, like, hey, Sector 7, how's it feel having half our funding? Crap going on. It's ridiculous, but I don't, like, most people are watching Transformers who's like, oh, I watched one of the movies or I watched the show as a kid, and then they get to the ending like, G.I. Joe? But knowing that that's a thing that they've been trying to do and a thing they have done, I'm just more mad they did it really shittily. Because there was a gag early on where the brothers like, oh, you think the CIA are watching us? And it's paid off as a joke at the end where the guy's like, your brother was right. We are watching you. Was it just because he was ex-military? Because before, I'm going to say this, 2 days ago, because the movie can't take place over like 2 days, more than 2 days. Because more than 2 days ago, he was just a guy.
Yeah.
If they were like, we know
time,
you know the Transformers, please join us, that would make more sense. No slight to Noah. He seems like a decent guy, but also how exclusive. Does that mean that Noah's going to become like not become a G.I. Joe, like become a named G.I. Joe? Is he gonna have like a stupid code name? Because that would be fucking hilarious. Oh no, he's either gonna be one of the auxiliary characters I don't know very much about, or just a new made up character.
I don't know. Maybe he'll be like Cole Young in the
Maybe he'll be Flint. Maybe he'll be Flint. Whatever his name is.
Yeah. Oh god. I mean, like, granted, they have me intrigued by how absurd that this is. Like, maybe if this becomes like Fast and Furious, where you just like where you just tune in to see how absurd it's gonna get, then I'm not gonna complain.
Also the one thing that I think, no offense you, but also everyone is overstating. It's like G.I. Joe and Transformers is so stupid. G.I. Joes are just people with guns. Sometimes they have weird vehicles. It's not like it's Power Rangers, you know?
Well, yeah, it's not that
if anything, a Transformers movie where the humans are G.I. Joes would be way better because they can actually fucking fight back.
It's not necessarily the fact that like I don't think that G.I. Joes and Transformers would work well together like in a movie.
Which they generally won't. They probably won't.
The crossover itself is just really fucking stupid, and the way they handle it is stupid.
Oh, the way they handled it again. If they manage to make another movie, stick the landing, and put like one or two characters, I think that's what they'll do. Is they'll have the next Transformers movie have some random G.I. Joes in it, and then the next movie after that being an actual G.I. Joe movie, Transformer cameo. That's my guess. Because they're not going to make a full-on Transformers versus G.I. Joe movie. It's going to be they're just characters, like John Cena's in Bumblebee or Josh Duhamel's in the original 5. Because if he was a G.I. Joe, would anything change? No, not really. Not 2 through 5.
Man.
It's both a crazy, idiotic cliffhanger, but it's also from a corporate perspective extremely logical and sort of inoffensive, because the possibility sounds stupid, but the reality is probably really boring. So we have that to look forward to.
For sure. Man, what a movie. I guess a couple of things that I just found interesting that we didn't fit into the discussion. So this movie deconfirms the Bay movies in a pretty interesting way by Mirage directly referencing Mark Wahlberg.
Apparently that line was unscripted. Apparently that was an ad-lib line.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So I've heard.
So like this ad-lib line about Mark Wahlberg,
in universe,
Aaron Yeager in
Cade Yeager, not Attack on Titan's Aaron Yeager. Silly.
I hate myself right now. I
hate Cade Yeager.
I can't believe I just mentioned media that's worse than Transformers movies.
Is Attack on Titan worse? No, Attack on Titan's not worse than Transformers 4. Nothing's worse than Transformers 4.
We'll go with that. That's debatable. I haven't watched it.
Holy shit! That's okay.
I just,
That needs a 5-hour video analysis on if Transformers 4 is worse than Attack on Titan. But Mirage, he's making silly quips. He's like, "Oh man, did you believe that Mark Wahlberg left the Funky Bunch?" And it is pretty funny because he's in the fifth movie. It deconfirms the existence of Cade Yeager and thus the rest of the universe, even though there's plenty of things deconfirming this as a shared universe. That is definitely one of the funnier
basically
examples.
the only thing that's directly, other than like the cast and crew being kind of wishy washy on if this is a prequel or a reboot.
No, it's actually just Lorenzo Di Bonaventura saying it is,
Lorenzo,
and no one else saying it is. It's just him. He's a terrible
he just
person.
keeps saying prequel, even though it's not. Man, stupid.
The other thing, actually similar part of the movie. At one point, we're saying Mirage is bullshit because he just turns into random stuff. Like he turns into a power suit later. He turns into a Porsche normally. He becomes the front truck of a garbage truck. And at one point, when he's like, I can transform into a bunch of other things, he turns into a Lamborghini, like an F1 car, and something else I forgot. But I know that all the vehicles are references to other Transformer alt modes. Sideswipe is the Lamborghini, and he used to be an F1 like drag racer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh, that's what he looked like in the original cartoon. It's a little, and also there's another moment that I also did that to like my friend on the other side of me. That when in the museum when Elena's doing her research, the maximal symbol like research article is by people with last names Takara and Tomy, which are Takara Tomy is the manufacturer. It's like the Hasbro, Takara Tomy, or like the partnership. It's another just like it's like in Daredevil where every single character is named after a comic artist or something. It's just like a little nod. I thought that was cute.
Yeah, it was.
I mean,
I'm scrolling through the IMDb tree right now, and there's one that I just think is like the one that I think is really funny. Reek tells Noah that Even Steven. Shia LaBeouf plays Louis Stevens on Disney Channel's Even Stevens and played Sam Woogie in the first Transformers movie. Like the phrase "Even Steven" had any reference to Shia LaBeouf at all.
The movie takes place like 10 years before the show.
Yeah.
Maybe Sam Wookiee's canon in that universe. That would be funny. If like nothing else happens but Sam exists. I mean, I'm sure they'll eventually work their way to having Wookiees again. I mean, they started the franchise as human characters. I'm sure they'll bring them back at some point.
God will.
Not Sam. I just mean like Sparkplug, Spike, and Daniel.
Yeah.
I mean, they already took the power suit idea from them. Spike? Is it Spike or Daniel? I think it's Spike in the comics is like a fucking he's Optimus Prime. He's like Optimus Prime. He's a hater. He's like an op. He's like a fascist sympathizer human. He's like Dylan Gould, actually. But he's like a military guy in the comics. Oh, spoilers for IDW comics. I think it's Spike is like a villain. But that's like the human side of that. So if we get the G.I. Joe crossover, they'll probably do something like that. And have either Witwicky or one of the other 5 billion G.I. Joe characters be a human. Just give me Cobra Commander in a fucking Transformers movie. He was Cobra Commander is in the Transformers show. Like he just straight up shows up.
Oh really?
Yeah, he does. Like it's not like a reference. He's just in it.
Yeah. Hopefully he joins the next one.
Too bad we can't get the best Cobra Commander, the one Joseph Gordon-Levitt from the movies.
Oh, dude, he's so bad.
That was such a fucking funny reveal.
Yeah.
Why aren't those movies on Baycast?
We should want to do them.
Those movies and The Losers, I think, are honorary Bay movies. I guess if we do that, we have to do Battleship.
Oh yeah, we do have to do Battleship. Ugh. Yeah, I guess
We forgot about Battleship because we were gonna do Battleship, The Losers, Turning Red, Transformers 7, which I guess we're doing that now.
All right, so
Oh wow.
that's the catalog
Oh,
for
spoiler
movies.
alert for IDW's Baycast. Spoiler for Baycast.
Yes,
We are actually
Baycast.
affiliated with GI Joe. That's why we work with Michael Bay so closely.
God.
My code name is Nerd Boy or some fucking horseshit. Also reminds me that I saw someone post about interest from Cybertron as a guy that turns into a boat called Short Round. Not like the Indiana Jones character Short Round. It's just a character in that continuity that collects Transformers.
And his name is Short Round.
He's short and he's a Decepticon. And I looked up his
And he's
bio.
short and round.
He is pretty rotund. But his bio is like he collects Transformers. He's a dork, and everyone hates him.
I
It's like
love it when company or like when pieces of media just make fun of their own fans.
like there's like the one girl Decepticon, and he doesn't like love her, but he has a crush on her, and she hates him because he's a nerd and a dork. And that toy goes hard as fuck though, because he turns to a hovercraft, which you may ask, why would you ever need to be a hovercraft? That's the beauty of it. Transformers are obviously best when they turn into things that make no sense, like the robot turning into a gorilla. Oh wow, humanoid bipedal creature. I mean, he has as many fingers, he has as many toes, he has as his eyes are the same. I think it's fucked up. But I guess where we move on from this, I would think they were going to do a Beast Wars sequel because there's a ton of Beast Wars characters. There's Rat Trap, who Rat Trap is basically just Mirage in this movie. He just keeps making references to stuff. He's a jokey, quippy guy. Dinobot. Don't ask why there's a Dinobot called Dinobot. I can't answer you. And then there's a bunch of evil ones like the Beast Megatron, Waspinator, actual Scorponok, not the clones. But looks like we're not getting that because G.I. Joe. Whatever. I guess I'll just hold on to my Predacon toys and hope they show up ever again. Maybe they'll refresh Terrorsaur. Oh god, I'd love to see Terrorsaur in a movie. What a nothing character. I think we've traversed. I think we've traversed all of the ground we need to. I think the beasts have risen. I think the forms have trans. I think the them has been let come.
I think we covered pretty much everything.
I think it was all a dream.
I think we maximized what we could talk about.
We maximized video time.
Yes.
Video recording. Maximize.
All right. Thank you all for who have stayed here. So it's probably like one person. Thank you for everyone who has listened and the support. And we will talk about more movies at some point. I guess ever since ever since the TMNT, we haven't had a consistent upload schedule at all. But hopefully we'll get some more stuff out soon. And take care, everyone.